And that was Young Guns from Violet Night off their upcoming new album, Colors of You, right here on In the Pit, Penn's Peak Radio. Brought to you from the Lehigh Valley Health Network studios. This might be maybe your first time hearing of Violet Night, or you're obsessed already. No matter what, you have to know this name because I have a feeling they're going to explode very, very soon. And tonight, I'm very excited. I've got Connor of Violet Night on the phone with me. How are you doing this evening, Connor?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I mean, right before the release of this album, Colors of You, it's coming out tomorrow. First and foremost, what is the atmosphere for you right now surrounding this release?
Honestly, it's kind of crazy, you know, because it's like I'm very, very excited, and I feel like, you know, when we started this band, we did the EP we did a few years ago, and I don't think we ever expected it to gain so much momentum. And so, you know, just right now with all the press and everything that's going on and the shows we have coming up, it's almost overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in the sense of, like, you know, when you have a really, really good Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it feels to me. I mean, we worked so hard for the past year, and so to finally see it, you know, to let the album see the light of day, so everybody can kind of get a feeling of what we've been talking about for the past, you know, year. It just, I can't really put it into words. I'm really, really happy about it.
It sounds a bit like jitters and just ready. You're just ready for it to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
It's actually hard. It's hard to believe, to be honest. It's when I sit back and I'm like, it's coming out tomorrow. It's like, it's actually hard for me to believe, but it's finally here. It's been such a process.
Okay. Well, let's take it back for a second. Some people might not have heard of you before. To get us to where we are today, how did Violet Night start? How did this project, this band, come about?
We started in 2014, and what happened was I was in a different band, and that band kind of slowed down, and I really wanted to go for it, but nobody else seemed inspired and, you know, wanted to be honest, it can be expensive sometimes, and nobody else in the band at that point wanted to keep going forward. It felt like some people that were in my previous band, City Light Vigil, just weren't wanting to do it 110%. So whenever I get into a position like that, I get kind of restless, and I'd been working on some solo stuff, and I got a hold of TJ, who's my best friend, and I was like, TJ, I'm going to go record these solo songs. They said, I don't sit still very well, and I want to do music really bad, so I'm going to go do this, and would you just do a band with me? Can we just go to the studio together and do this together and start a band? And he was reluctant at first. TJ is the other half of Violet Night, and he was reluctant. He wanted to learn how to score films. Like, he wanted to learn how to do music for movies and that kind of thing. And finally, you know, through time, he finally just said, hey, I'll do it. Like, let's see what happens when we write together. Because we had previously jammed a lot, and we always joked. And we're like, we'd sit there and we'd go, man, if we ever had a band together, like, we would make some seriously awesome music, because we just had such a strong chemistry. So when he finally committed, I was overjoyed, and we've been giving it 110% since 2015. Well, November 2014, if we're being specific, but since then we've just given it everything we can.
So, actually, how long have you two known each other?
Oh, geez.
Okay.
He's been my best friend for, I would say, 10 years.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Long time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, long time.
So it sounds to me, have you had another band before this? Were you constantly in bands growing up?
Yeah, since I was, me and my brother started a band when I was like 12 or 13, and we would play like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Metallica. Then we got into heavier metal like Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine, and we would just cover that kind of stuff. And we were called Atrium, and Atrium turned into City Light Vigil. City Light Vigil disbanded. But I was always the guy in every one of those bands that was like just swinging for the fences, like, you know, like with Reckless Abandon. I'm a very hardworking individual, and I am lucky to have found TJ, because he has the same mentality where it's really about, you know, making it in the industry is really just about how hard you work and how much, you know, there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make. I've had relationships end and other things like that, because at the end of the day, this is the most important thing to me. And it's kind of hard sometimes, but at the same time, there's a lot of reward involved in those sacrifices. So you have to be able to have that broader vision. I think otherwise you won't be happy, you know? Absolutely.
I completely agree with you on that. I feel like also, I don't know if it's like a generation thing, but right now, at least for me, I feel like so much a career more than, I don't know, settling down or something, like what do I want to do with my life type of thing. So that type of feeling I understand for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like more people now are doing something that I consider very important, which is putting more of an emphasis on what they want to do with their life first and finding happiness within themselves before committing to a relationship and just being like, well, we have kids now, whatever jobs we have, we're staying at them because we got kids and they are expensive, you know what I mean? So
I'll stick to a dog.
Right. Yeah. Well, TJ has a dog. TJ loves his dogs probably more than anything in the world. He's a huge fan. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I get that. And I think that's awesome. So then for this release, your EP, I Hope You're Well, you said back 2015, you said you were kind of surprised by the response that you were getting from this?
Yeah, well, TJ was surprised that things have went the way they have for us. To be honest, I was surprised, but I had faith. Because the songs made me, like, they just leveled me. When we listened to the playback in studio, I was like, wow, like, I'm a man of few words in that sense, and I was pretty vocal about how much I loved what I was hearing, and that like the bands I was in before are more of an alternative pop punk kind of sound, and Violet Night was more natural to who I was. So there was no compromise. It was more just exploring and creating. And every other band I'd been in had these boundaries and these rules of, we can do this, we can't do this. This is how we are going to sound. This is our ideal. And with Violet Night, like, some people who have heard the record are like, man, this record is amazing. And it's like you could throw out 4 or 5 singles to different audiences, to different demographics, like different people who are interested in different things, like, because it's so vast. And I think that just is like, that's how my brain works. I love so many different kinds of music. I really would hate to be pigeonholed as the next to this band or the next that band. I think keeping people on their toes and doing what people don't expect you to do is the best way to keep growing.
Definitely. And I mean, you saying that, I mean, from you saying, you know, you started out with AC/DC to like Bullet to this, like, is any music for you open to anything? Are you open to trying anything at least once?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
One, like, if it's what I don't really care for, like, I don't care for stuff like really pop country doesn't do it for me. I feel like a lot of it just sounds the same, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's not a real distinction, and I love hip hop and I love rap. And when I say I love hip hop and I love rap, I love stuff like old classics like Tupac and Biggie, but I also love stuff like Kendrick, you know, but I don't particularly like hip hop. Would be, I don't know, the stuff where they use like, I'm not going to name names. There's some really popular rappers doing it right now, like just tons of auto-tune and just not great lyrical content, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
Like, it's just not, there's no relation there. And I mean, it sells millions and millions of records, so labels are all over it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't do it for me. For me, like, lyrics are super important. So if I can't connect, then I can't, I definitely won't tune in.
Well, that's funny because I actually wanted to talk to you about that. And what you said about how TJ wanted to make scores and stuff like that. I can picture whenever I'm listening to your music, a story in my head. So I was actually wondering, like, do lyrics come first? Do music? Is it a dual creation? Like, what's your process for creating music? With
this record, it was a little different. On the EP, so the EP was interesting because TJ and I, now this might be hard to believe, but to write the EP, we only sat down 5 times together, and that was it, and it was written. So
that's awesome, though.
Yeah, and we put a lot of emphasis with the EP on let's not do anything that doesn't feel right, and let's just, like, we would just be like, that feels good, doesn't it? Yeah, and then we wouldn't overthink or over-question anything. The writing process with this record was quite different. Basically what happened was TJ was in a different spot in his life, just going through some personal stuff, and he didn't have as much time to write with me, and, that was cool. I was fine with it. So I undertook, I'll say, like 85, 90. Well, most of the song structure and the skeleton and the basis of everything, I wrote by myself, and then he came in after the fact while we were in the studio tracking, and he started writing. I think he wrote most of his parts in the studio while we were tracking everything else, and what he wrote is fantastic, and I love it. So yeah, the process generally, if TJ writes something on piano that really catches my ear, like words will just start coming out of me, like, and then we'll sit down and we'll be like, how do we feel about this song? And if there's two songs that are fairly similar and stylistically, then we'll be which one is stronger, and we'll axe the other one, because we don't want to have anything sound the same. You know what I mean? We don't want to do something we've already done. So so there's that, and then generally I don't know, like, do you have access to our new record or no? Do you just
have the few songs that you guys released.
Okay. So for example, let me think. Young Guns, I wrote that in like 5 minutes, if I'm being honest. Okay. And I was going to throw it away because I thought it was just like sometimes easy songs I throw away. I'm like, this isn't as artistic, or blah, blah, blah. And then I showed it to our producer, and he's like, that song has to be on the record. It's really good. And Randor Lynn is our producer, and he almost functions as a third member of Violet Night. He's produced everything we've done, and I really value him as a member of our band. Well, he's not a member of our band, but
as a support teammate type deal.
Yeah, like, I can't imagine having somebody else. Like, if we had another producer, Randor would have to be the co-producer, because he means a lot to me, and he's a really dear friend, and he's just a true professional. He's a really great, he's really good at people. Like, he knows how to get the best performances out of people, and he knows how to mediate. If two different people want different things, he knows how to find what's best. And it's a very valuable skill to have when you're in those situations, because sometimes it's pretty intense,
Yeah. You had an interesting experience this time around for Colors of You. Again, it's coming out tomorrow, guys. Was there like a concept that you wanted to write towards then for this album?
In a way, I feel like when I listen to an album, after we put an album out, I feel like I'm listening to my former life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm listening to who I used to be. And so the Colors of You is an indirect reference to myself, I feel like. And I mean, I don't mean to be like, I think that the colors can be applied to anybody. They can be applied to anyone. Anyone can feel or embrace what we've done there. And I think the concept was just to have every song be different. Okay. And to have every song. But what's funny is I guess we didn't actually try, though. We didn't intend that. We weren't like, every song's got to be different on this one. It was like, it just happened that way because we listened to like such an infinitely vast amount of music. Well, I would say I listen to way more different styles than TJ. TJ listens to, he's got his bands that he really likes, obviously, but different strokes. Yeah. So the concept was just to make the ultimate album, to make something that we felt really showcased who we were and really shattered people's expectations of what an album's allowed to sound like. How many different sounds can a person fit onto an album? Because I feel like a lot of bands, like I said, get pigeonholed, and then you've got a record of 10 songs that sound the same, and on that record, there's probably 3 songs you're going to save to your Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and the rest of it you're just going to ignore. So if you experiment a little more and you dive into different genres and sounds, your market reach. I mean, and it's not like we're doing it from the point of business. we're doing it from a point of artistry, but your
Yeah.
reach and your music is about helping people. So the more people our music gets to, the more people, can be helped by it. Because that really ultimately is the goal for me, is just to inspire people. And if people are feeling good, I want to be the soundtrack that makes them feel even better. And if people are feeling sad, we want to be there to comfort them,
Yeah. Well, and you saying that, I've talked to some bands who write an album. Okay, there's a string of things that'll be similar throughout the album that it all goes together. And then I've also talked to bands who are we're just going to put out 2 singles at a time. Where do you think that falls for this? Because you said, the songs are kind of different, each one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the singles thing, when bands do that, the truth behind just doing singles is that it's affordable and it's the culture. So people do it because it doesn't cost a lot of money, and people do it because it's easy marketing. And the way it is now is that fans expect a song every month or every couple months, and that seems to be the way to go. We've always been the kind of guys that love full-length albums. I love listening to a full-length album, and I feel like any band that I really adore has given me an album that I've listened to numerous times from front to back. So if I can't do that for our fan base, then how am I supposed to expect them to love me the same way I love other artists? So I always find that the bands that just put out singles, I always find them kind of forgettable, to be honest with you, and I never wanted to be a part of single culture. I mean, I think next, we would do another EP. EPs are cool, but I feel like just putting out singles would never be me. I feel like,
they get lost sometimes.
Yeah, and I have so much to say, and it's like I couldn't imagine trying to express an entire artistic vision with a single song. And I mean that, and you're going to pick the song that's the most radio ready, so you're already making that sacrifice, and it just, I don't know. To be honest, I prefer album culture, but I mean, you have to play the hand you're dealt, and I think that for us, it would be more, I imagine we'll do an EP next, and then another full length, but it's hard to say, I don't know what the album's going to bring, or if, there's a lot of different variables, I think, that need to be considered, but, yeah.
Well, from what I've been hearing so far from you, I like that you're just keeping yourselves open for things, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely, you're not putting yourself in a corner. Exactly.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Exactly. So, Colors of You, again, guys, comes out tomorrow. From what you were saying, you'll write a song. If you don't like it, you get rid of it type thing. But was there a spark of genius moment that happened in the studio for you?
Yes, I will say that would be the song Where We Began.
Oh.
That one was not going to be on the album, and we were sitting in the studio, we were working on a song called Crystal Coliseum, and there was a very zany, it was like if Panic at the Disco had Royal Blood style guitar riffs. And I'm talking they're pretty odd era.
Yeah.
Very, very bizarre song. And just, it wasn't firing like I'd imagined it would in my head, because it's like an audio circus, that song. So we were like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I have this song to our producer. I said, I have this. I'll play it for you on acoustic. So we went into the room, the vocal room, and I started strumming and playing along, and I played it for him, and he's like, that song has to be on the record. That's, that he has a really good ear for that. He just said, that's a really strong song. And right away, and for me, it was sometimes the ones that are really easy to write. I always am like, man, that took me 5 minutes. I have to try harder. And you often think yourself into that, into that, out of getting a great song. Just because it's easy to write doesn't mean it's bad. Those are often the best songs. So, that was a spark of genius, I'll say, on our behalf, and the ending of the song Sparks, which is the 4th track on the record, that ending where it stops for about 3 seconds and then this big, huge ending kicks in, and it's surprising, and it wasn't intentionally, planned off the bat, but we were in there, and after that ending, I just sang that outro bridge, and Randor, our producer, just said to me, Connor, I think that's the best lyric you've ever written. And that was another moment of fire. There's lots of little moments like that where things, especially with Randor, because he and I just have this fire chemistry, like TJ and I, and we both get each other really excited, I think, when we're recording and when we're writing, and it just really makes for the best Violet Night that we can be.
Oh God, that makes me so much more excited to hear the rest of this album. Just hearing the little things about it. I mean, what is one song that we haven't heard that you're really looking forward to people hearing?
Probably Choir of Your Mind, because it's got a guitar solo in it. Like, it's heavy, you know what I mean? Okay. It's like, it's got palm muted guitar riffs, it's got like super heavy synths, there's a guitar solo, and it's a Choir of Your Mind, which is, it's about like mental instability, and I used to suffer from insomnia, actually, and I would sleep like 15, 20 minutes a night, and I was like folding laundry at 4 a.m. after I went for a run. And I was like, I really want to write like a dark, moody, kind of sexy song. Mm-hmm. And I just, for whatever reason, I started singing it. Like that's a lot of the time songs will just come out of my mouth. Like I don't sit down and go, I'm going to write a song. I will just start singing it, and I'll have a line and a melody, and I'll be like, okay, well, yeah. And that song wrote itself probably within an hour or two. And that one's super cool. Honestly, it's really hard. Like Colors of You, the title track is super, super cool. That's Colors of You, the title track is almost 8 minutes long, for example.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I think that's unexpected. It's we actually built the album very cool. It's definitely meant to be listened to, front to back as an album. And what we did is we took the ending of Colors of You is this beautiful, beautiful instrumental outro on it. And it actually loops around perfectly to the beginning of the song Depths, which starts the record. So if you have your iPod on repeat, the album will continuously loop, and it won't feel like you've missed a beat.
That is one of my favorite things that bands do. Oh my God, I love that. That's
me awesome. Too. I like it too. Do you want to know where I got the idea, or should I'll keep that to myself?
I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah. Well, on Viva La Vida, the Coldplay record, which is one of my all-time favorite records, they did that, and I was like, man, I really want to do that. Like, how can I incorporate such a stroke of genius into our work? Because that record means a lot to me. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite Coldplay album. I think it's just a thing of pure beauty. So, yeah. And so I did. That's something that they'd done, and I've heard a lot of bands do it here and there, and it always has struck me.
It's tricky to do, though. So
yeah, and it was not easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I'm super stoked. I mean, Connor, we've been talking about it all night. How can people get this album from you guys tomorrow? How can people check you guys out?
Just go to Spotify or iTunes or Apple Music. Anywhere you type in Violet Night, Colors of You is going to show up. I mean, if I'm being totally transparent, you're talking about an indie band, two guys, who are giving every single thing they can to, I would say, their fan base, and two guys who, like, it's not like we have somebody like some big, person being like, oh, here's a ton of money to do this. Like, we worked at jobs, to fund this whole thing, and I'm not going to say how much it costs to do all of it, but it was. It's never been about the money to us. It's just about what's going to get us the best quality and what's going to do our art, what's going to serve our art justice, what's going to make people understand what we want them to hear, what's going to get to the fans the most, and so that's something that we've always put an emphasis on art over money, and that doesn't matter to us. We've never, we're not doing this as rock stars that want to be super rich. We're just doing it because music has helped us, and we want to use our music as a vessel to help other people. So I would, check out our Instagram, check out our Facebook, anywhere you can think of that you might find us online. We will be there, and we'll probably chat you up. Throw us a DM, and I will almost always message people back to DM our page if I can, and I'll have a chat with you, and we can talk about the record and if you like it or not.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. What is going to be going on for the rest of 2018 for you guys? Are we going to be able to see you guys places?
Yeah, we've got some shows in Western Canada coming up, and we have September, we'll see us touring the western and midwestern states. I think the farthest east we're going is Indianapolis, and we're starting in Seattle. We're going to, California, and I think we're doing Arizona, Denver, like that kind of area, Midwest, like Chicago. And then we'll be heading out east in November in support of Colors of You. And that will be, I think we're kicking that off in Montreal, and then we're going to go down to New York and stuff like that. It's kind of the tentative plan. Awesome. So just follow us on Instagram. It seems to be our most popular hub, and I feel like more kids use it than Facebook now, so that's kind of where I more so direct.
Yeah, I think Instagram is the new norm. I think Twitter is like slowly going out, and Facebook, who even knows? Yeah, I think Instagram's everything right now. So
Facebook is like for our dads.
Yeah. That's where you're like, yes, I'm still alive.
It, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they're on it now, right? So it's like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, let's bail.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Connor, so much for chatting with me tonight. Again, guys, Colors of You, it's coming out tomorrow. Check these guys out. Get their music. Support them. They deserve it. And just remember their name, because you're not going to forget it. Violet Night. Connor, thank you just again so much for chatting with me this evening, and congratulations for tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a listen to Where We Began. So Connor, if you want to introduce this song, we'll take a listen.
This is Violet Night with Where We Began. I hope you enjoy it. It's a song to drive around the city in the summertime with the top down and just listen and sing along with the top of your lungs.